welcome to Caroline's Corner. And it's like, it feels a home. It's a place where it's like, God, this is nice. Get to have conversations. And back to what the whole intention of what this was about, which was to create a safe place for conversations. And my intention hasn't changed in any shape or form, is to facilitate unique conversations with people who genuinely want to find meaning in their lives and in life. And it's been pretty special with yourself, my beautiful, beautiful friend, Olivia, and with Don and with Jer, and just to sit back and just to listen to what people, like in very painful situations, and as the lads have said, and you said, that suffering, every human being, it's inevitable, everybody suffers, and just to be able to sit and to have the conversations has been pretty powerful. So the whole idea of Caroline's Corner, it's evolving. It is doing its own thing. I ask for direction. I trust. It's something that I feel it's like a family affair, and that's the most important bit. And my name is Caroline, and I'm just taking this step by step by step, and yeah, just letting it do its own thing. So just maybe just to say that I practice as a therapist. I won't say I've gone back to, because you can't go back in life. I have a thing about that going back. I'm not able to say it. So I'm practicing again as a therapist in a very different way, a very different environment, and the way that I'm meant to. I was a founder, and I was a CEO for an organization, and that was around mental health and suicide, and that was well over 20 years. And I was completely and utterly backed by me fella. I had his backing all the way. And I think way, way back when I said to him, I have an idea, and the word suicide was barely mentioned in society. And I said, I have this idea and it won't go away. And I had, what if certain things had been put in place for me many years ago? And he said, why not? Go for it. And that's oh, thank God, yeah. So that's what I've done. I've been involved in Social Entrepreneur Ireland, where I supported in many ways, and also at the Iris O'Brien Foundation. And again, that would have been funding and mentoring and lots and lots of learning there. And I got to, for 11 years, facilitate for Maynooth, the foundation in counselling skills. And yeah, that was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And then got to be with Amnesty for 5 years, and they took on mental health as a human rights issue, which was quite interesting. And it was lovely. It was lovely to be part of it. And then a friend of mine who physically isn't on this earth anymore, he set up an organization called No Panic, which is still going. And Colin, he actually set it up, and it's really big, and he couldn't move out of a 5 mile radius. He had such agoraphobia and anxiety, and he ran conferences. And yeah, so I got to volunteer for 10 years and to work with people, really struggling with acute anxiety. So that's part of what I've done so far. And Caroline's Corner, it has come about, and I'm trusting it. As I say, Connor has said to make sure to press the record button, which I have. The mic is still standing, so we're doing good. And so far with Amy, I'm all right. So I'm doing okay. Our little family are doing okay around this. So, Olivia, oh, it's so good to see you. And yeah, it's like Olivia's back again, and I'm just so delighted. And how are you?
Great to be back, Caroline. I'm good. I'm very good. I'm almost finished for the Christmas holidays.
Yeah.
So it's a lovely feeling. It's such a nice feeling, just knowing that, I'm going to have a bit of time for myself and my family, and to reconnect with some people, friends. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to the break. So yeah, I'm heading home to Roscommon for part of the break, and then back down here So lots planned, and
Good.
yeah, it's a special time of year. So yeah, special, and it's also a hard time of year for, for all of us for many different reasons. So it's all about balancing both, I think, and yeah, doing what you can for yourself. I suppose I'm very conscious at the moment because a lot of, people I know have lost people recently. So and yeah, I think this time of year just brings it up to the surface. Very raw for people, and yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed, Caroline, your conversation with Don and Gers. It was
Did you?
great to get a small sense of who they are, because I've heard so much about them from you, and my God, I thought they imparted so much wisdom. There was so much depth to what they were talking about. And I guess I'd encourage anyone listening, if they haven't heard these conversations, to maybe go back into Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast and have a listen, because there's real wisdom there. Stuff that was top of mind for me. I know, like, there was so many takeaways, but I mean, just talking about, I guess, the importance of being still.
Okay.
And I think this time of year we can all get caught up in the hype a little bit, and there's no need to, I guess, really, it's so important to sit back and tune into how you are feeling and ask yourself, what do you need maybe over the next while to support yourself through the period, and what little things can you do, little, like, I suppose, how can you create little moments of joy for yourself, throughout the holiday. I know Gers spoke about, and I just loved, the part about our ancestors.
Yeah.
The power of our ancestors. And what really stood out for me was when he spoke about viewing transitions in life as rites of passage. Like, that's not something, of course, that you will think about when you're going through it.
No.
Even afterwards and years afterwards, and it got me reflecting back.
Yeah, I was wondering for you, yeah.
Lots of different moments, and I was really taken aback by what he said. He talked about meeting these moments with reverence rather than recoil. And I think it takes someone that's had a lot of life experience to even, be considering these things. So for me, it really made me reflect on some of the kindness that was extended to me during different periods of my life, during different adversities, when I was going through such transition, but probably didn't realize the magnitude of it at the time. And it's very front of mind for me as well, knowing some people going through very hard times, yourself included, and Connor and Amy. What can you do, I guess, for people in your life at this time of year to maybe ease their burden a little bit,
and maybe not ease their burden? That's the other side. It's like, and I was thinking what you said about Jer and their ancestors, and I was very strong. And also, actually, and this is lovely, letting the conversation, bring us where it needs to bring us. Absolutely, with Jer and Don. But you were beautiful in the interview as well, Olivia, and just to talk about Derek and your mum and James and yourself, and it just had such an impact on me and other people. So, and like that, you such devastation and trauma, and you were willing to look at, well, what meaning can you take from it in your life, and then from life itself, and like, we've been around each other a long time. I've seen when that pain and when that tsunami comes, and yet you are willing also to come, and like that, we're sitting, and as they always say, this isn't a formula. This isn't about right. It's about us just as human beings saying, okay, can we? Maybe we can't. Is there? Maybe there isn't. And I think that's, for me with the two guys as well. And I really, tsunami after tsunami at the moment. So I don't know if I am able even to think of. I'm in survival mode again, but I'm functioning, and I'm a mother, and you're a mother, and I'm looking, and my heart's breaking. My heart is breaking, so I'm not too sure. It's like there's a detachment, and then there's just such heartache and such pain because a big, big love is going to bring big, big pain. I was very struck when you said about our ancestors, and straight away I smiled, like even in, I know when I'm really, Christmas, and for other people, for everybody, and it's so individual. I know my voice is flat, and I know it goes empty. It just goes, there's a nothingness. And it's like my voice just gets really, really tired. And I can't touch that. I just can't touch it. And yet, when you said there, the ancestors, I straight away in my heart, I felt a lift because John was very clear. He go, Caroline, like seriously, we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. He's like, they done it all before, they did life before, they did that before, and we've so much we can learn. And like Jer said, and we are the next generation's ancestors. So I know for me the word tsunami is very much at the moment, and then there's a detachment. So I can't touch that. I can't touch that. Like even I know Christmas is this week. I know it intellectually, I know it. But my body, by Jesus, does the body hold grief and trauma and loss. And it is holding it. And who knows? I may hit the deck, I may hit the ground, I may not. But I did take up the baton from John to live my life free from fear. I did take that up when he left this earth. So when I can, I do. I go, right, okay. I have to trust that things are integrating. People are integrating, the people that are like that second mountain, and people from the first one. I loved that, how you shared that, Olivia. And that's about it for now. And that I'm actually going to work and doing things. But there's a whole part of me just talking to John, going, please just guide us. Please just guide us through. Please just guide us through. So yeah, that's sort of where, just when you're chatting about, and then with Jer and Don, I know the relationships they have in my life, and particularly around the trauma and the living of it, if that's, I don't know, or existing sometimes. But I know for you, Olivia, throughout the years, yeah, I know you understand.
Yeah. Oh, Carol,
Mm. Mm.
even this morning when we were chatting briefly, my heart, I really just feel for you all.
Thank you.
Like, yeah, sorry, go on.
And I can see John smiling, going, and there's my little crew doing their podcast. If you'd have said it a year ago, not in a million years. And I don't do time, as you know, I don't do time as a healer. I think Amy said something beautiful. It's not about time healing you, it's about giving yourself time to heal. But whatever that looks like, and could be forever, it could be whatever, it's very, very individual. So I do see him smiling and saying, there you are now, talking to our beautiful Olivia.
And so you mentioned the ancestors part there. I'm really struck as well with Don when he talked about the consciousness, at the end of life gathering itself back And I just wanted to ask you, what else has really helped you?
That's a loaded question, isn't it?
Don, I guess, in particular, I think there's so much in that conversation.
You see, Don, it's about who he is as opposed to what he's done. And Jer was the same. So 3.5 years ago, these two men could bear witness to absolute chaos and absolute trauma and absolute. They actually met me where I was at, which a lot of people couldn't. They met me where I was at in the rawest, horrific. It comes now, but there's life has given us some space, thank God, to be able to have a bit more of that stillness. But Jer met me where I was at, and I sat, and just his honesty and his realness, and he was going nowhere. Don, because for me, I said, Don, you got to help me. Physically, Don isn't on this earth, but I know for sure that he's still with me, his essence. I said, and like John O'Donoghue, the visible and invisible walk together. So Don, we were able to look at also on a practical level, just how to function, just physically function or not. Like I said before, it could be meditation, it could be a Valium, kind of Coors Light, a cigar, and it could be all. And it doesn't. This isn't open up for a debate or a discussion or an opinion. This is where we as people try to survive pretty horrific things. But they met me where I was at, and out of that, I could trust because they didn't move no matter how horrific, and then consider possible things. But even then, they'd be shut as quick. The things, it's not a little list and we'll do this and we'll do that, and nothing, and it still isn't. So as human beings and as people, they had such a capacity, and I think that their interviews reiterated, but so do you, and so did you.
Thank you.
Yeah. What about you?
In terms of like what helped?
If that's okay to ask.
Yeah, of course. I think I have such a strong belief that we are, after our experience here, going somewhere else. That, I really don't look on, I guess, grief or death now. I know they're extremely hard experiences and they come in waves, but at this moment in time, like, I feel peaceful when I think about, people that I have loved that have passed away. That's in this moment, and I know that can change.
Yeah.
It's like this knowingness, and I know Ger did speak about that as well, the divine, this inner knowingness, and holding the hand of the mystery of all of that. And I feel that I just do that naturally myself because I have such a strong belief. And I think, I'm very, very interested in spirituality.
Me too.
Educate myself, read an awful lot from people that have walked the path, that have
absolutely
true. And that, like, I could spend hours, just listening to people's stories, podcasts, talking with people.
Yeah.
And one thing I was really blown away by, after the podcast, the amount of people that I heard from. And it was so lovely because, I reconnected with some people I hadn't been talking to in years. And it was just, I had some just real moving conversations.
Yeah.
And it reminded me as well of, I mentioned earlier some of the kindness that was extended my way and our family's way, through different experiences and different losses. But and I was thinking about this a lot today, like, I know we trust a lot that we needed to when the moment comes, but I was thinking about, say, the night of my brother Derek's funeral, and say our house was full of people for months after Derek died, and the community, I think that's one thing, you know, in times of tragedy, I think it just brings out this community spirit that just can move mountains. It's just incredible. But that night, I was walking into the kitchen and it was about 12 o'clock. And there was a guy there, a beautiful soul that used to work for my dad. He had an agri contracting business, so it was seasonal work. And he used to work for him. And he was mopping the kitchen floor time. And he was like very young himself, you know, probably late teens, early 20s. And he said he just wanted to do it for Maura, my mother, because my mother would have looked after all of the lads that worked for my dad very well, you know.
Yeah.
It's just, I thought it was just the kindest thing to do. And he's no longer with us now. His name was Christopher, but he really came into my heart strongly today, because I just thought it was such a nice thing to do in that, you know, during that time. And stuff, you know, you don't think about, like practical things. Like there was people that were looking after the farm. There was people that, you know, stayed in our house during the funeral. People that, you know, dug Derek's grave. Stuff was just done. Our school, I remember one of Derek's teachers read a beautiful poem, Do Not Stand at My Grave and Weep. I am not there, I do not speak. I'm 1,000. I just love that poem. But things just got organised, you know, and I think that's so important for, you know, particularly now if you know somebody that's going through that, you know, and in the very early stages, you are so emotionally vulnerable that you would not have the capacity to even think about what needs to be done. So it's really important, I think, you know, friends and family to maybe think about the practical things, like even food. You know, I remember just at that start after we had James, when we were in hospital, I remember friends of ours sent some food into the hospital.
Brilliant.
Sent ginger tea. Okay.
Yeah.
I love ginger tea, but I thought that was so kind.
Yeah.
Like, I just think people are so thoughtful during these times. But you know, I think it's human nature as well to say, oh, let me know if you need anything. But just to remember that people don't really know what they need. So maybe just try and think of them day to day things, like even maybe babysitting or collecting people from school and giving the person a bit of space or time for themselves. I think that stuff is very, very helpful, because to this day, like, it warms my heart when I think of all that was given for us during that time.
And I know we were surrounded by love, but I couldn't touch it. I couldn't. I had to. The only way I can describe is for the first 2 years, I felt I had no skin, and I just kept thinking, if I had no skin, how am I going to keep it together? And Connor and Amy, and then, you know, when we lost John physically, there was many other losses. So I know for me, I know that I had to shut down to survive, because nobody prepared me on this earth for what happened, and I never will be. So I know for me that it was important that the space was given. So I had to push so that I created a space to go, okay, Jesus, John, you got to help me out here. This is just, so again, even that the people that could realize when she's ready, she'll step back out when she's ready, and she just has to survive for now. So I think that's really important as well, that, you know, and people are kind, but also that you won't receive anything back necessarily, because there's people, you know, and we know from pain and loss and suffering. And I know for me, some of the people initially, and I just remember saying to John, you better guide me, you better send me people gone ahead and people here. And Brian Wise was one of the first men that came into my life. He's a psychiatrist and beautiful, beautiful human being. So I just kept trusting, and I kept reading, and I kept when I could. And then David Kessler came in, and he's such a lovely, lovely man. And his book, when you were saying earlier, different things about life, and he wrote a book called Finding Meaning, and I bought it, and I would not look at it because I just, even the two words finding meaning really pissed me off, and I kept looking. But because of his personality and my experience of watching him from a distance on YouTube, and I was sort of able to a bit around certain people, and they had something. I didn't know what it was, but I bought the book and I wouldn't read it for a good 6 months or 7, I don't know. Wouldn't read. I kept looking at it, and then I read it, and then I read it again, and I haven't read it. You know what I mean? And it's like, so there was those parts of just that slowly saying, okay. And again, I'm going to go right back to what you said, Olivia. Here and now, I can say that you don't know in the next moment. You know what I mean? And yeah, I'm very conscious of Christmas. I'm very conscious of let people find their way and do their way around whatever it is that they're going through. But yeah, I would have been very clear around I need to keep the whole world out way over there, because I had been very involved in the community, and I knew the love was there, but I just had to shut down. And my body, it was the physical element, which is still there, and that's nothing prepared me in life for how physical grief is, and can be and will be. That's what I'm saying. Even my voice is flat now, and the tsunamis, and then the little green shoots. That's what John's dad would say. Not that we'd have a problem with the word hope, but we use green shoots, because if you look at a piece of cement, and against all the odds, these little green shoots are coming up from a piece of, on the road. But the small green shoots really were down to the people, their personalities, their attitudes, their willingness to bear witness. And I mean, that's something, yeah, that's the type of stuff. And then within that, when you can say, okay, this feels safe because your heart, does everything come down? Then within that, you start to hear, and it's not that because it's not only you lose the person, you lose yourself. You lose yourself, and it's so. But particular people, and some, as I say, gone ahead, and some here, and I would be very much, my Connor and Amy have been my biggest teachers, and trusting like you, and listening to life, and listening to, okay, against and despite myself, I'm still standing, no matter what that looks like. And yeah, and then within those just small little things, like David Kessler has an online, and I could just tap in and out, and then there's just a little bit, and then shut it down, because the trauma, you just can't breathe. And then other people, I found John O'Donoghue just soothing, and that's really the truth of it, very soothing. Wayne Dyer, myself and John, big into Taoism, and all that means is just their way, and we just rocked, the pair of us just rocked around that. So I found with Wayne Dyer, he explained it in plain English, and I said, okay. So again, very, very small things like that. But I know for me, I needed to, the person, and then they influenced a bit, and then over time, and it's still early days, it's like I start to remember me and what I have and what I'm capable of, but not that I particularly know who I am anymore, but there's that essence, which is the bit we talk about, that's still here, and then the ones we love. And there was a beautiful on Facebook, and I hope, if Debbie's listening, I hope I get this right, and my apologies if I haven't. It was so lovely, and it really influenced me. And she said she'd listened to the podcast, and she said, and I thought it was just so lovely that she was out walking. So again, Debbie, if I haven't captured this right, my apologies. And she realised how far she'd come, and that she'd never been alone, because I know she'd lost her mum. And I thought that was so beautiful for that woman to say, but also that realisation, she has come so far. and that she's never been alone. So, stuff like that catches it, doesn't it? And you're like,
me think of,
okay.
The quote of Wayne Dyer's that you love. If you knew who stood, what is it?
If you knew who walked alongside you, you'd never be afraid again. And that's where I always made the connection with you stand on the shoulders of your ancestors. Yeah, and that's it. That's exactly it.
Being open if you can, when you can, because of course it does not happen straight away. And where I am now, like, I mean, when I was, it's worlds apart where I am now, with all of this. But, and I think, David Kessler, like, even I think for anyone listening, he has really great resources online. Even, bereavement by suicide, he has, like, if the loss of a child, and he has so much experience that I would encourage anybody that
totally
are struggling to. His website is grief.com, and he actually said that one page there gets most visits at night time, I think between 11 and 3 a.m. And it's like how to help somebody through grief.
Yeah.
And how to help yourself through it. But what's so true, what you were saying and what I felt myself too, it's bearing witness. It's witnessing the person where they're at. So we all want to, we have that innate thing in us that we'd like to fix the situation. There's no fixing, like, unfortunately, like, none of us can fix things like that. It's an experience. But if you ask anybody, I think, that has went through something traumatic, it's, in my experience as well, and from people that I have spoke to, it's the people that have been present. They don't even have to say anything. It's like even giving you a hug or holding your hand or just being there, and, like, being in contact, and just realizing that you don't have to say anything. There's nothing that can be said, and just for yourself getting comfortable with that discomforting feeling that you can't, but your presence will mean the world to the person.
And I think as well that I made the choice. I stepped into a working environment I had never been in before. And the reason was I was anonymous and I could choose what I did and didn't. Also, I needed to go where I could be anonymous, and I've ended up working in doctor surgeries, and I think for years I used to challenge the doctors, remember, when we were working around mental health. Yeah, in a good way.
So it was, you have gone on your own journey, and you're still on it, and you have done what you've needed to. And I
totally,
like, just me looking on, I look on in awe at you and at Connor and Amy, because I don't know anyone else that has been through this, like, say personally what you have been through. And I mean, it's just, I think the fact that you're still standing and functioning.
Because I know who walks alongside me, but to actually to go in and work. I'm working in this reception and admin, and a shout out to the guys in Churchtown and Cabinteely and Town and just to go in and to be anonymous, and just slowly over time for me, and then just like to be able to, and I know as patients come in, I'm able to be very present for those few moments. And sure, of course, I'll never be the same again. Nobody's ever the same again. So I'm still finding my way, and I can switch off, I can disconnect, and that's just a survival mechanism at the moment. It's just overload, and it's like I know physically that there's things, So it's like I'm there and I'm doing it, and I don't question it. It's like I have asked for guidance, and I'm doing that alongside doing the Zoom 1-to-1, and my intention is to teach logotherapy. I just have to work that one out, but I have such a
Tell us a bit about Viktor Frankl.
yeah, I just was totally, and I think John, and that was the biggie. I just kept saying, "Oh God, help me out here, please." And we'd read his book years ago, Man's Search for Meaning, separate because it's quite small. He wrote when he comes straight out of the concentration camps, and I just, it wouldn't go away because I swore I would never practice as a therapist again, and walked away from just a lot of pain alongside John's physical death. And anyway, it wouldn't go away. And it was nearly I could feel Viktor Frankl, who's also gone ahead. What an amazing human being. And I could hear John going, "Come here, you. We remortgaged the house. You've done 6 years. You became a therapist, and nothing. Don't let nothing stop that. That's where your heart has always been." And I just kept. So I done a course in America with my beautiful friend Fran, who will come on. She's a professor in Redlands University, and again, that was synchronicity. And I'd sort of been thinking about Viktor, and lo and behold, she wrote the book The Power of Love. And next minute I look, and in the interview, there's an interview with Viktor Frankl's grandson, Alex. So I said, "There's no coincidences," and I know there isn't for me. So I sent him an email, and I just shared some of what I was living, and I just said, "I know I'm to reach out to you, and I know your grandfather with my lovely husband is there's a web going on there." So I reached out to Alex and said, "I know I'm to work with you. I know I'm to get in touch with you." And he's such a beautiful human being. And yeah, I've been studying in different places, logotherapy and reading, and tormenting Alex. And he's pulling together, which is phenomenal, all his grandfather's archives, and his grandfather before he went into the concentration camps. And I wouldn't know, this is where I would learn. And he had already started, believe it or not, he worked in suicide prevention, which I didn't know. And then his passion was logotherapy. And then tragically, he went into the concentration camps and lost his beautiful family, his wife and unborn baby, and his mom and dad, and came out. And sure, you'd be totally suicidal. And then he wrote the book, and then he done a radio interview, and the reason I know I was drawn back to Viktor Frankl was I thought, my God, he after all that he had gone through, he didn't hate, because hate kills you. Hate destroys people, and I'm like, no more, you get no more. So yeah, he didn't hate, and he then was able to look and say, well, how do I find meaning? And I don't mean excusing or like, and I just thought, you're someone I want to be on that journey. So I kept in touch with Alex and continued to. So he's taken all his ground. He's been doing it for a couple of years. So Alex, I hope I'm describing this and honouring yourself and your grandfather, because I really, really think so highly of both of them and all the people involved. And he's going to create a course with all of that phenomenal. But yeah, so that's how. But Viktor Frankl came into my life many, many years ago, when and John, and it was obviously time life decided he was to come back in when I could, when I could hear, and when I was able to go, okay, this is coming from love. This is coming from love now. So that's how one of the many people. And yeah, logotherapy is lovely. It's beautiful, and it is about that finding meaning. Yeah, so that would be, I would feel honoured to share that worldwide, and why not?
Well, I think that's what people need, I think, to navigate the adversity that can come into your life. And it's only when it does that's when you start exploring these things. Or if you've a deep inner struggle, I know with me, it was, say, sorry, my earphones are falling.
Watch the IT, Connor will give out to me.
Yeah, it was like I went on a whole journey. Like, it probably was my late teens, early 20s, where I started getting really, really interested in all of this stuff. And yeah, it's never stopped. I mean, it's just got stronger and stronger over the years.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, sometimes I have a library of just all of the stuff, like, you know, psychology,
Yeah.
development, just every type thing. And I love it. That's what brings me to life. And, you know, I do believe as well, and I think what's pulled me forward in life is that kind of deep belief that we are here for a reason. And I do believe we are here to experience, you know, life in physical form, but also to share our experience if we feel able, and we don't always, because, you know, and I know, you know, from our years even working in charity, sharing our own stories in a public forum, you can be pretty vulnerable after sharing a piece of your heart. But I think the intention behind that, and what I feel now in my life is the intention is so strong in my life to be of service.
Yeah.
Giving back is a huge part of my life. Because I feel very, I think, you know, I try to live from a place of gratitude and appreciation for things. Don't always, but I try to.
Yeah, yeah.
And to be in a position where you can help in whatever way that is, and it's not big grand things, it's just the day-to-day things, the people around you in your community, maybe in your work. I believe that's why we're here. It's like to help each other on the journey to, you know, wherever we're going next. And something's just popped into my mind from Oprah that I love, and I know we're big like Oprah fans.
Absolutely.
Anyone that knows me knows I love Oprah. But she said, anything that is possible for you.
Totally.
And I think it's really, really important to remember that, because when we get stuck in like our trauma or suffering, it can take a long time to even get moving through it. But I think stuff like that, in my experience, that's the stuff that has excited me and got me back to, I think, on track, on the path that I was meant to be on.
Yeah.
And like when I started listening to myself, you know, I started getting so interested in like yoga. I went and studied, say, yoga teaching. I felt myself starting to come alive, like you say coaching. I'm a qualified exec coach, and a huge part of my job at LinkedIn is coaching. And I love that. I love like just helping people realize their potential. And I just believe that, and in, you know, the adversity that and the suffering that you're going through now as well, like your willingness to share already what has helped you, you know, I believe you're on this path doing this, like this is where you're meant to be right now in your life. And the fact that I honestly mean this, like I am in awe of you and your like strength to actually to be able to share at this stage, and even to follow that calling that you felt. You know, I remember you saying to me before, you know, I know that I'm not just going to lie in a hammock, you know, for the rest of my life after this. I know I'm to do more. And it was like when the charity was set up, like, I mean, to set up a suicide prevention charity in a nation that is full of stigma, like what, you know, to do that was incredible. It really was. And now you're on a whole other journey.
Absolutely.
But the thing, and like, I think what I see in you is that, again, the care, like you care so much about people, and you have this calling. Again, it's just coming through, as you can see, the green sprouts, like the way you even, you know, got to know Alex and Fran, like you studied. You know,
I stalk them. They'll tell you when they come on.
But yeah, I just think it's amazing. And Caroline, another, you know, saying that was coming into my head very strongly today was from the book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And the most common regret, and I have it wrote down here, was I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me.
Absolutely.
So if you're lucky enough to be gifted with life, that if your life, like if you get to live each day for, like, none of us know how long, a day is a blessing. But I'm very, very, I'm at a space in my life where I just know that, like, I am to do the work I'm doing now that I love and that brings me alive. And I want to be, say, when I get, you know, that rocking chair analogy, when you're I want to look back on my life and be, you know, just know inside that I lived the life of my dreams. And I really mean that. And that's not, no, that's not like, it's the small things for me.
Absolutely.
I believe, I really feel I am living like the life of my dreams at the moment. And it's very simple things. It's been, for me, I feel I'm being very present in my life as best I can. I enjoy the moments with James so much. He's mad into Ring a Rosie at the moment. But it's then things like that is like gold to me. And we can't enjoy any of this without our health. So, you know, when I wake in the morning, it is that, like, you know, space of gratitude and like just connecting to the joy and the love in your life. I think, you know, the other regrets of the dying is like, you know, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wished I'd had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I'd let myself be happier. And these are important questions to ask. Because wouldn't it be, and Don mentioned this as well, you know, when you get to it, wouldn't it be great to know that you had lived like a life to, you know, your full potential? Or Oprah says, I think, you know, have the highest vision, or had the highest vision for your life and aligned your personality with your soul's purpose here. And just even asking yourself then questions is important. Like,
and I think what Ger said, which really resonated, and I know we'll be finishing up soon, but because we could chat all night, but I really like what Ger said when he read the poem about his father, but he said those words took years to come out. So it's like, and I really resonate with that at this time of my life. It's like, it's not about an effort, it's not about pushing, it's not about, and I just like that, say, okay, let's give us a bit of direction here on how the conversation goes. And it's like, it's not about, I really, that for me, what Ger said was, it took many, many years for those words to come out, or can take whatever it's going to take, because they're coming. And I know that's very much where I'm at in my life, because, like, you know, I couldn't get out of the bed the other day. I'm here chatting with you, and that's the way it is. And it's like, then I'll pull back and then I lean back. But I'd love a story, and I wrote it down again. I hope I'm going to, and it's very much, Olivia, what you're saying about, I think this will capture as well, and it's about John Diaz, and I'm very, very taken by this. So I'm hoping, again, I do it justice, but I wrote it down because it was quite significant. And like, if we're saying what type of things impact or influence us, or that we connect to, or we feel, and very back to what Debbie said, that as she walked along, she realized how far she'd come and she's never been alone. And I can really relate to that. I can really relate to it, not being alone. So this was one of Oprah's, and there's many people that I know influence us, but this really, and there's a book, God, I lent it to my brother, and the little fecker never gave it back to me. I hope he's listening. I just have to think of that. I think what I know for sure. I think that's the name of the book. It's actually
Oh,
really,
yeah, I have it
it's
here.
really good. Yeah. So this one really caught me. It really, really caught me. And she's interviewed well over 40,000 people at this stage. So I wrote it down just to capture, as I say, the best I can. And it's very relating about you saying, when I'm sitting in that rocking chair, you know. And so she said that all the people came on for her. She got meaning out of it, value. She grew to the best of herself. And that's sort of what we're doing. I know from you talking, Don and Jer, I know that's helping me evolve as a human being. I don't even need to figure it out. I just get that feeling. I know from the conversation. So a chap came on, John Diaz, and she had all her interviews over 40,000. This one absolutely really stood out for her. And it was a program called Would You Survive? On the 31st of October 2002, and I'm very conscious of the families. The Singapore airline took off, and there was 179 beautiful souls aboard. 4 crew and 79 passengers perished, which was 83 fatalities. And there had been a typhoon, is that what you call it? The weather. And the plane had gone down the wrong runway, which is absolutely devastating. And John Diaz was one of the survivors. And when he was on the show, she said, look, what do you think it was? Was it where you were sitting? And he said, yeah, more than likely. He said, I was in first class. And he said, I was right beside an exit. And he said, there was quick thinking. He said, I didn't stop moving. So she turned around and she said, do you think it was something divine? He said, nope. He said, I'm not religious in any shape or form. But he said, I did see, as I got knocked back into the plane, he said it looked like Dante's Inferno, absolutely horrific. And he said people were just strapped to the seats and they were burning. And he said, but he said it seemed like to him that there was a bit of a light coming, an aura coming from the tops of their heads. And he said what he experienced was that some lights were brighter than others. And he knows it changed him as a person and a new form of spirituality. And again, not a religious man, and he said that he believes somehow, doesn't know how, that life continues somewhere through that light. That's all. That's for him what he felt, and he felt that the brightness and the dimness were for him of how we might have lived our lives, but it changed him. And he said that what he wanted to do, and it's very much with the armchair, exactly like you said, was to live his life so that when his aura went and it was leaving, that it was one of the bright ones. And I know that really, for me, John, so I just share this. I think I feel I can, and I'm going to trust. And when John came home and we were in the kitchen and I was shaking, I could barely move. And a beautiful man was the undertaker sorting out the service. And I could barely catch my breath, but something was moving to physically function and do all that I'd been doing. And we went out to the gate. And he said, Jesus, he said, Caroline, he said, I said, it's lovely to meet you. He said, it's not really. He said, because if you meet me, it means someone has died. And I said, well, actually, no, he was such a lovely man. And he said, you know what? He said, I bury a lot of people every day. He said, I bury a lot of people every day. And he said, I see people, he said, I've seen at funerals where people have come to the end and forgot to live. People are very bitter or they're very angry. He wasn't judging or nothing like that. And he said, I've seen a lot of people forgetting to live their lives, he said, And he said, I hope it's okay. You're so lovely. And that's what reminds me of that story and what you said. And he said, he said horrific, absolutely horrific circumstances. There's nothing I can say here. He said, but you know what? He said, I've watched this all and I've listened. He said, my God, he said, he was some man. He said, he was some man. And I said, yeah, you got him. And he said, God, he said, Caroline. And he said, not taken away from the trauma and the horrificness of how he left this earth. He said, my God, he said, did he live his life? And he said, did he have such an influence on people? And maybe that's why with John Diaz's story. And this is a man I never met, and I was just wishing, organising John's service, funeral service, and I just thought, yeah, you got him. And I think that's what we're saying, you know what I mean? And John, like always, mother of God, to talk about, he done everything he should and everything he shouldn't, and combined it all of the time. And that's who he was. But that really caught me, that man, just from being around us, could pick that up. So the John Diaz is with me, and the armchair, as you said, and if the intentions are there, and I think me and you are very clear and very strong around how intention carries an energy, and yeah, to hold on to them really tight.
Yeah, and Caroline, you say this a lot too. Wayne Dyer, you love Wayne Dyer.
I love him,
but he has his poem about don't die with your music.
I know. Yeah, with your music still in you.
Yeah, it's so important to ask yourself them questions. It really is.
Even if they shut down initially, it's like David Kessler's book. I was like, boom, over there. And it's a lot of the things I'm talking about, like, it took a long, long time. And even then, so exactly, like, I love what you've said throughout, Olivia. Just even to consider asking yourself them questions, even if they frighten the shit out of you, or even if they shut down, that just something's expanding in you, something's grown in you. And I do, you know, David Kessler, and he can talk. He's lost his son, he lost his mother, he's seen a mass shooting, but he said, you know, in time, and he can talk from his experience, that the hope is there's more love than pain. And I think just even considering that, just even because the pain just is so horrific. And it's those just seeds, those little green shoots that can be planted in conversations. And some you might pick up on, and some you might go, well, I'm not nowhere near. It's like what you said earlier. And I think even just these conversations and saying, okay, what little seeds might I pick up, and what ones am I not going to touch, if ever?
Yeah.
Well, Mrs., how are we doing?
Well, that flew by.
I know. We're not
seeming too bad for people that were up since 3 a.m.
I know. God, oh my! I was doing hemi-sync. I must talk about that another time. It's like a brain massage meditation, which helps in the transcendental meditation. But yeah, we're not doing too bad. Thank God for makeup. And listen, I know the week that's in it, it's very individual for everybody. I suppose, all I know is that if I was to do it all over and over again, knowing what I know, I'd keep picking the same journey and the same people again and again, because I get to be Conor and Amy's mum, and I get to still be their mum, and I got to be John's wife physically. Now we're on a different relationship, so I know for me that's very much with me. But the pain is absolutely ramping up, and the tsunamis. And I just, to anybody who's just shared some of the which was lovely over the last, and I just keep rocking, do another few, 3 or 4 after Christmas. People have said they come on and let it do its own thing. Just leave it be and let it do it. Let Caroline's Corner do its own thing. But some people have shared, which has been beautiful, the meaning that they're finding in their life, and that's just been lovely, really lovely. How about you, Mrs.?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that this is just, these are conversations me and you have. These are just the conversations we have, whether we're recording a podcast or not. Yeah. And I know for me, because I have found these type of conversations so beneficial, that I think that, like, from the messages that I have got and heard, like, people have got a lot from the different conversations. And like, what more could you ask for? That's the purpose. to be of service in whatever, way that you can. So I guess, yeah, I think, trusting in life and trusting in yourself, and just to take each moment, depending on where you're at,
Yeah.
in the journey, it's different for everybody, but just backing yourself,
Oh. And you know what? And I love you so much. I really, really do. And I just love that you're in my life. And I just, have a really, really peaceful Christmas, and with the little man and Santa.
I know,
But
I feel I'm so like glad. I feel I'm so excited
good.
about bringing, say, James is spending Christmas in Wisconsin this year. Be around like family and meeting up with old friends, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Good.
I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Oh.
I just don't take any of it for granted.
I know you don't.
Even better that like you're so aware of how special it all is, I guess. So
I'll have a very peaceful. And listen, you're going to be back in after Crimbo because we have a few other people coming. I love you dearly. I love you absolutely with my heart and soul. And I just love that we're hanging out together.
we'll talk soon.